Tansei, good evening, everyone. If you have not already, if I could just ask you to please mute your microphones. And I would like to let everyone know that the session is being recorded and we'll be showing it on National Indigenous Peoples Day. So I would like to welcome you all to the celebration for the launch of the Kaa-Wichiihitoyaahk Cultural Wellness Curriculum Resource Book. My name is Katie Trace and I'm the Senior Director of Culture, Heritage and Language, Women and Gender Equity, Youth and Digital Government at Métis Nation, BC. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you this evening from the shared traditional territory of the Kwantlen and the Katzie First Nation, and I respectfully acknowledge their stewardship of this land since time immemorial. I would also like to acknowledge that this community is home to the Golden Ears Métis Society. We also acknowledge all of the individuals calling in this evening and that they reside on different traditional territories and charter communities from across the province. And I wanted to take a moment to express our gratitude to all of the land-based nations for allowing us to work and play in their territories. As we'd like to begin this celebration in a good way, I would like to ask Minister and Elder Rainey Gervais to please start us off this evening with a prayer.
Thank you. Before I start the prayer, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm from the Clitali Dene traditional territory in Prince George. And it's very exciting to see all you guys here tonight. And here, let's go into prayer. This is a prayer I picked up from for the Mohawks. I collect prayers, and this is very beautiful. O Great Spirit, creator of all things, human beings, trees, grass, berries, help us be kind to us. Let us be happy on earth. Let us lead our children to a good life in old age. These are our people. Give them good minds to love one another. O Great Spirit, be kind to us. Give these people the favor to see green trees, green grass, flowers, and berries. This next. So we all meet again. O Great Spirit, we ask of you. In the spirit of Rial and all my relations. Amen.
Thank you so much, Minister Gervais. Next, I'd like to ask Minister Patrick Harriott to provide us with some opening remarks.
Tashikiwa, Patrick Harriott, Dishnik Kashan, Limachef Nia. Hello, everyone. Hope you're well. My name is Patrick Harriott. I am the Regional Director for Region 1, which is Vancouver Island, Powell River, and I am also the Minister of Culture, Language, and Heritage. And I am very proud to be here today to celebrate the excellent work that so many hands have done to make sure that our culture is able to be shown and that we can inform everyone as to what being Métis means. And I'm looking forward to this book being on the coffee table of every Métis family and every Métis home so that it can be picked up and thumbed through and shown to friends and passed around widely. So just very happy to be here, and I'm really looking forward to this evening with you all. Merci.
Thank you, Minister Harriott. I know I'm very excited to get a copy for my coffee table. Next, if I can ask Minister Sean Davern to provide us with some further opening remarks.
Hi, Tansei, bonsoir, Sean Di Shikashun. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sean. I'm the Provincial Youth Chair coming from the Silks Nation in Region 3, also home of the Vernon District Métis Association. I'm just really excited to have this sort of bridge between youth and elders. I feel that it's something that we talk about so often of how can we get youth and how can we get elders to connect, and I really feel that this is our method, this is our way, and to really have it like as a written resource is really going to help us to lose less and be able to transfer more knowledge in the future. So I'm just really excited for tonight. I'm really excited for this launch, and like everyone else who's spoken so far, I can't wait to have an own coffee on my own coffee table. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Davern. And if I could ask Minister Paulette Flamond next, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm having trouble, but I'm on now. But I'm really looking forward to tonight and to actually be part of this book launch. And yeah, just very interested. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Minister Vermont. Now I'd like to ask Senior Director Tanya Davrin to speak a bit about the origin of the book and the journey to getting to where we are today.
Thank you, Katie. It's my absolute pleasure to be here this evening, and thank you to our Minister of Elders, Rennie Gervais, for the opening prayer, and thank you, Katie, for acknowledging the traditional territories and charter communities of which we all come from. Certainly this product is one of a kind. It is something that I have felt the desire and the need for since starting with Métis Nation in 2008, so in my 14th year now. When we first started out to do this work, we were supported by the Provincial Health Services Authority, and we had the goal of helping to define what cultural wellness meant for us. I see there's a great comment in the chat. What will MNBC do to promote cultural wellness safety throughout the Métis community? This resource is really a response to the cultural and safety humility framework that was developed by First Nations Health Authority, because we were not engaged through the development of that framework. So we created our own. And through the gatherings that we had in the spring of 2019, which seems very, very long ago when we came together, and I look forward to doing that again, we had this resource that just kept growing and growing, and so much rich knowledge. And we recognize it's taken us way longer than we would have liked. But we're very proud to present a 162-page book now, and it will be, you know, a real sharing point for our communities, changing that oral history into something on paper, because we all have one-pagers. This paragraph we share with people in different ways, and so the whole concept of cultural wellness really came out from those pieces. Sorry, and we were just very happy to be supported by the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions and the work that we started out in doing in bringing our elders and youth together. So this history book of BC's history of Métis culture is one that everyone will want. When we both, well, when the four of us received press copies, we were like, this needs to be a hardcover. This needs to be something that lasts and is really held and revered. So we're very thankful for all the work that went into it. And I just really want to thank leadership, past and present, for the support of this resource. We knew it was needed, and we created it. And I'm just really, really thankful to all the elders and youth who attended in Prince George and in Kelowna from all over the province. It was really wonderful to have you there, despite in Kelowna having a little bit of problem with chlorine from the pool, if people remember. And then in Prince George, we might have had to order extra rice because we were running out of food, because we were just feeding so many people that kept coming in the door. And it was super exciting and a great time to come together. I really want to be thankful to Arrive Consulting. So we have Rachel Mason and Keisha Charnley from Arrive Consulting, as well as Mallory, who's now joined Métis Nation BC. So those three ladies put in a lot of work in helping keep us organized, us being the Métis Nation staff and the steering committee who really helped drive the work. So some past employees, Ashley Turner, Laurel Katernick, and Brody Douglas, as well as Colleen Hodgson and I really led that steering committee to make sure that we were bringing in the voices that we knew were important. And I'm thankful to Rachel for her stick in keeping us in order, because she kept us on task. She's a taskmaster, and we required that. So also very grateful for the reviewers, the artists that lent their work to the book, the subject matter experts who came in and reviewed and made sure we were accurate, the linguists that made sure that the language was proper that we were using as well. And in that, we came up with the title of the book, which I will not do as great of a job, but we have a wonderful audio file, Kaa-Wichiihitoyaahk, which means we take care of each other. So Nick, if you could play the audio file for us.
Kaa-Wichiihitoyaahk. Kaa-Wichiihitoyaahk. And if I were going to teach it, I started like this, from the back to the beginning. Yaak, Oyaahk, Hitoyaahk, Ihitoyaahk, Wichiihitoyaahk, Kaa-Wichiihitoyaahk. Ekushe.
So that's Dale McCreary. So thankful to Dale for sharing the proper pronunciation. We'll continue to work on that to make sure that we're giving it the honor it deserves. As part of the work, as I mentioned before, the First Nations Health Authority has their cultural safety and humility framework. And so we're constantly asked in policy, in programming from the province, what does cultural safety mean for Métis people? So I'm wondering, Nick, if you can pull up the cultural wellness statement. Thanks, Nick. So here's our statement. Cultural wellness is a sense of belonging and pride we feel when we are connected to our Métis families, communities, traditions, and the land. It feels like home. We express cultural wellness by honoring the strength, determination, and traditions of our ancestors. We do this by telling our stories, using the Michif language, being on the land, and practicing and passing on our traditions, such as music, jigging, and art. Métis culture is a beautiful continuation of the strength and resiliency of our ancestors, the joy of family connection, and the passing on of teachings and traditions of our elders to future generations. Cultural wellness fosters balance in physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health for our Métis individuals, families, and communities. Embracing Métis heritage and culture honors each person's unique story and our own distinct identity as Métis people in BC today. Thanks, Nick. So right now we do have a slideshow, pictures from the Kelowna and the Prince George gathering that we'd love to share with you.
That was a really wonderful slideshow, and I especially love all the photos with the puppets because it seems to just bring everybody's smiles out. And I know Colleen's told me many stories of how it seems to bring out the child in everyone. So look forward to being in person again and seeing those puppets. I will now pass it over to Rachel Mason and Keisha Turnley to talk a little bit about how the book was developed.
Eat well, everyone. Eat up well. My name is Keisha. I'll just take a quick minute to introduce myself. My name is Keisha Charnley. I'm an associate with Arrive Consulting with Rachel. I come from the Katzie First Nation, which is located about an hour upriver of where I'm calling in from today, which is the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. And Rachel and I just wanted to take a moment to share a little bit about our process. I'm not a Métis person, and so throughout this project, I was a guest in your community, and that was a privilege, something that, you know, wasn't taken lightly. And so, as you can see from the photos of the gathering, it was an amazing time of people coming together and sharing their stories and celebrating who they are and where they come from, and we got to witness that, and we got to hold those stories. Part of my teachings around this kind of work, where we're recording stories and holding them in a good way so that they can be shared, is that the process of telling the story, the process, sometimes it's called research, should be actually healing too. And so when we gather together thinking about the medicine that the stories were going to provide for those who are going to read them, well, the actual act of bringing those stories to the forefront, I think, was really good medicine. And so our process was just leaving our own assumptions or, you know, anything we were carrying at the door, and really just listening and hearing the community and trying our very best to not change those stories with our own experiences, but just create a home for them. And so, you know, that was good medicine for us, I think, too, is just to kind of step back and you know, have that privilege of being welcomed into your community. So I just want to raise my hands and thank you all. I'll pass it on to Rachel, and she'll have some words to share as well.
Thank you so much, Keisha. My name is Rachel Mason, and my background is Eastern European Jewish on my mother's side and English on my father's side. And so I'm the owner of Arrive Consulting, and we were invited by Métis Nation BC to support work on this project because of our the work that we do with Indigenous nations and organizations and communities around curriculum development. And one of the really beautiful things about this project is when we were invited to do this work, we were asked to support the creation of a learning resource on what cultural wellness means to Métis people. But we had this, you know, a lot of open-endedness about what that resource could look like and what it was going to include. And so our first step was to host these gatherings and to listen to the community and to hear their stories. And the idea for this book and the contents and all of the knowledge in it arose from those sessions. And thank you so much for putting together and showing that slideshow. It just brought a huge smile to my face. And it just feels like yesterday, the time that we spent with all of those individuals and talking to them and listening to their stories. We really wanted to create a lot of different ways for people to contribute so that everyone's voices could be heard. So we used a lot of different approaches. We held a number of small sharing circles where people could come in groups of 10, 15 people. And we would discuss, you know, 2 or 3 questions in depth over the course of an hour. And they were really beautiful and healing and positive and very emotional sessions. We also did direct interviews with people. So we interviewed quite a few people, video interviews, and asked people, you know, questions around what cultural wellness meant to them and what it looks like in their lives, and invited them to share their stories. We also had large group discussions where we all discussed different topics around cultural wellness together. We asked people to share language. We asked people to share examples of what cultural wellness means to them. And I think you will have seen in there the graphic recording that was being done during those sessions. So we had at each session a graphic recorder making a large mural, sort of capturing the concepts that were being shared. And so there was just a number of different ways that we, collected information. And I remember very clearly partway into the first gathering, I, was spent all day listening to people's stories and then went to sleep. And then I woke up in the morning and the table of contents just emerged for the book, It was like, oh, these are the topics that we need to share. And we brought that table of contents back to people on that second day and said, like, this is what we're hearing needs to go in here. Like, how does this sound, And so it was great to see how that kind of emerged. And then we got to share it back with people and get input on it right in the sessions. And so then we had so much material and we had, enough for this whole 160-page book. But we brought that to the working group that was made up of MMBC staff. And we shared with them, this might be a lot longer than you expected, what should we cut, And it was unanimous from the working group. Everything needs to be in here. Everything that people share that's important, it needs to be included. And the messaging that we got from the working group is, yes, we want to define and teach others about what cultural wellness means to us so that people can better understand us and our communities. But this book is for us too. And we want this book to be for Métis people, by Métis people, for Métis people. And so it needs to have all of that content and all of those voices in it. And so because of that, that's partly why the process took, longer than we had anticipated, because we really wanted to do all that information justice. And we spent a lot of time, going through transcribing quotes from all of the interviews and, going through all our focus group notes and pulling out quotes and finding the themes and things like that. And you'll see that when Mallory shares the book, that there's so many voices and stories represented in there. And I think that's one thing that makes it really special. It's not just a history book, it's a book of stories and experiences. And just to give you an example, the cultural wellness statement that Tanya shared, it looks simple and concise. It probably went through like 25 revisions. There's probably 50 people that had their eyes on that, and the different stages of developing that statement. And well, actually there was 100 people, and initially we all of the words in that statement were pulled from the things that people shared in the gatherings. And so really it's like just what Keisha was saying, our role was really to kind of be a conduit for your voices and stories to be heard, and to create a space and a home for the collective stories to be shared. And so it was really an honor to be a part of that. I'm really grateful to everyone who contributed. I really want to acknowledge how amazing it was that Mallory joined our development team partway through the process and was able to see the book straight through to completion before she went to go work for Métis Nation. And has had a huge impact on bringing a Métis perspective, both in terms of the content and the design of the book. So that was a really wonderful part of the process. And I also want to mention the review process. We had over 10 people review the book, and every single person who reviewed the book put their heart and soul into it. They gave us back copies, full of comments and track changes. We had multiple discussions with people going through their comments on the phone. People sent us articles to read, and so we really spent a lot of time, gathering that input from the reviewers. And sometimes the reviewers didn't agree with each other. So that was interesting too, and we realized that, we needed to be clear that this book represents multiple perspectives, and there's not, one way to tell this story. And so we tried to balance all the different voices and things that people shared, but we may not have got all of them in there. We may not have got everything the way that people might, see it themselves. So there's a lot of diversity, and that came out in the review process too. And then we were really grateful to have the artists who contributed photos and images to the book, poetry from Métis authors, and the translator Dale, who helped us to, make sure that we had all our Michif language correct. And And so, yeah, there's a lot of people that contributed to this, multiple reviews from the working group. And I feel really proud to share this and to see, you know, how it's all come together. This, as Tanya mentioned, is a print preview, which is a soft cover, but the actual book is going to be a hardcover book. And we really wanted to make it something that was easy to read and felt good to read and felt positive and is also beautiful to look at. And so when Mallory shows that, you'll see, you know, the time that and the effort that was put into really making it a beautiful product. So yeah, that's a little bit about how we created it. And I just want to thank everyone who participated in the process and all the future readers of the book. I know a lot of people in my own life are very excited to have this book come out and just can't wait to get a hold of a copy. So we're just thrilled to see it coming to fruition and being published, and really excited to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel and Keisha. I will now pass it over to Mallory Blondo, our Manager of Culture, Heritage and Language, to give us a little sneak peek of what you will see.
Marcy, Katie, Tanchi everyone, thanks for joining us this evening. I also want to say merci to Rachel for the kind words and acknowledgement. I came into this project towards the end, but it was really just a real pleasure, a real joy to be part of this work, bringing together all the information and just putting it into a book and really making it visual and engaging and something that people want to have on their coffee table and flip through. And so I'm really excited to share a sneak peek with you all. Don't worry, it's not the 160 pages. We do have an abridged version, just to give you a sense of the layout. And so I'm just going to share my screen here. And if you could let me know how it's looking in terms of the zoom, that would be helpful if I need to zoom in a bit more.
If you could just zoom in a little bit, Mallory.
A little bit more, like that. How's that?
Maybe once more.
Better?
I think that looks good, yeah.
Okay, great. So before I get too ahead here and reviewing some pages, I just wanted to give a special shout out to Jessica Thompson. I believe she's on the call this evening, and she is the graphic designer with Design Coast that helped us to assemble this document. So a common theme was many iterations, and Jessica can feel that, I'm sure, as we continually worked to make it, just get it to a place where we just felt it was really beautiful and proud of the work. So thank you, Jessica, for being with us on this journey and helping to create the book. So I'm just going to scroll through here and I'll give you just a sense of the chapters and a bit of the layout of the chapters, what you can expect when going through it. So we have the introduction, chapter on Métis identity, Métis history, Métis strength and resilience, Métis culture, the Métis Nation today, cultural wellness, and working with Métis communities. And then in the conclusion, you'll find some appendices where there's frequently asked questions about Métis people, a list of resources, books, videos from Métis authors or about Métis people, and as well as a learning circle facilitator's guide. So what you can expect from a typical chapter, and I'll show you what this looks like, is an overview of what the chapter's learning outcomes are, an introduction to the chapter's content, building on what you know, which helps to establish a link between the subject matter and the chapter content based on your own knowledge and experience, the actual chapter content, stories for Métis people, questions for reflection, as well as activities and questions to test your knowledge, and a summary of the key learning. So you can just see through this example that it's really meant to be reflective and encourage learning and help you to have a deeper understanding of the chapter content. So I'll just take you through chapter 2 just to give you a sense of how that looks. So we have the overview. So the goal is to clearly define the term Métis. This is the shortest chapter, by the way, if you feel like it goes by fast. There's other chapters that are a bit longer. So you can see we have the introduction, and within the guide, there's quotes from the Cultural Wellness Sharing Circle participants. You'll find these scattered all throughout the document. We have a piece on building prior knowledge, so asking some questions. The chapter content, so the origins of Métis people. More content, more information. And then we have questions for reflection and ways to test your knowledge, and then a summary of the key learnings. So you'll find this replicated throughout each chapter. I just wanted to just do a quick scroll just to give you a sense of the beautiful images that we were able to gather. Métis history, great captions from our Cultural Wellness Sharing Circle participants. Métis strength and resilience. A lot of these photos were provided from MNBC staff, which is really nice. We also have a really beautiful section here on stories from Métis elders. Métis culture. One thing we wanted to do is really highlight contemporary Métis culture as well as individuals in BC. So we have Madeline McCullum here, who's a well-known jigger. And we have Pat Callahoo. And his York boat. And then we have the Métis Nation Today, where we go into more information about Métis chartered community and Métis MNBC governance model. So we feature the Moccasin Flats Métis chartered community. And we have other chartered communities in there as well. Cultural wellness. And this is the cultural wellness statement that Tanya read to us earlier. And impacts of cultural wellness with more stories and quotes from our Cultural Wellness Sharing Circle participants. And then our last chapter is working with Métis communities. And we've brought back the puppets for the book, of course. How could you not, right? So here we have a great photo here. And some lovely quotes. So that's just the sneak preview of the book. And then I just wanted to show you just a bit about the appendices here. So some frequent asked questions, lists of reading materials, and then the Learning Circles Facilitator's Guide. So this is really if you're wanting to use it as a learning resource, as a book club or even just a group. I mean, it could be used within a school setting. And it's just helping you to consider how to facilitate this book and just some recommendations and protocols that go along with it. To really set you up in a good way if you were to teach this or host it within a group setting. And that, I believe, is it. Yeah, and a sample agenda. So that is the sneak peek. So I hope you enjoyed it. I see Rachel clapping. And Colleen, great. Thanks, everyone. I will pass it back to you, Katie, to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Mallory. And yeah, just reading some of the chat there, I think everybody's in agreement how beautiful that looked. The last time that I saw it was in draft form still. So just blown away at how amazing it looks, and also really excited just to have my hands on a copy of it. I will pass it back to Tanya Davern just to go over a bit how the book will be used moving forward.
Thanks, Katie. And thanks, Mallory, for that sneak peek. And Rachel and Keisha, I appreciate your kind words around the process and how it was a real labor of love, I think. And when I think about projects that I've worked on at Métis Nation BC that are really close to my heart, certainly the cultural wellness book, this curriculum is something that's been very close to my heart. Same with the Métis Public Health Surveillance Program. Those are my two babies that, so happy to see this one finally coming to fruition. I'm very excited about it. And I think you can tell by the way it's been created, it is meant as a teaching guide. So we look at the facilitator's guide, the ideas that we are looking at sections, building on prior knowledge, building on key learnings. It gives us an opportunity to work with systems. So the PHSA has the SANYAS program, which they recognized way back in 2008 when I first started. There wasn't enough Métis information being shared. So whether this becomes a rendition of SANYAS, whatever that looks like, an independent curriculum piece, or whether it becomes part of the health authorities' individual curriculums that they create, it gives us an opportunity to share our knowledge with them so that more and more people can learn about the Métis Nation. So we as staff, we as Métis people don't have to carry that and have to explain to everybody who the Métis are. It is the responsibility of learners to understand who Métis people are, but we've given them now this gift to be able to really have that knowledge that wasn't taught to them in high school. So we recognize, it was a failure of the school system. One of the things I really see, how this product can be useful is through the In Plain Sight report and the recommendations really around how Métis people want to experience healthcare, experience education, what that looks like. So by creating an opportunity for education, for people to learn more about the Métis Nation, it will reduce racism. It will reduce discrimination because they'll have a greater understanding of who we are as a people. So I'm just very thankful for everyone's contributions that have been a part of this process. We are very excited to launch this on National Indigenous Peoples Day. It has been a long time coming, and it is a great gift to our communities. This product is going to be for sale on the store, but we also want it to be a resource that's available to everyone. So after we recoup the purchase of all the books that we've created, so that people can have physical copies, there will be a PDF file that will be made available. So students, so people just learning that they're Métis don't have a barrier to accessing this. So it's something, I think it's a gift that we give back to the people that helped create the resource. So I just wanted to end in saying that is our gift in reflection of all the time. Looking at those pictures and all those beautiful smiles, it just makes me feel really like I want to come together with people again. I really miss that. I miss being in community. So I look forward to brighter days ahead after vaccination as we move into July 1st and September, and, look forward to seeing everyone again. I think, Katie, if you want to ask, I don't know if there's any comments or anything that we'd like to draw attention to.
There was no questions. I think just a lot of, if anyone does have one, if you wanted to open it up to that, we definitely can. I was trying to keep my eye on the chat there, and I think just a lot of comments around how excited everyone is to see.
Right. And I just saw Dawn and Deborah, our regional director, Deborah Fisher, thank you so much for your flexibility. I know tonight you had a regional governance council meeting scheduled for this exact same time. So great that Presidents Mert Servatius and Don Corson could be here tonight, and others from your region. The price for this book is $24.99. And as mentioned, it will be available on the store. And after you'll receive a coupon in your email to thank you for your participation, to thank you for being a part of this great work if you were a participant at one of the gatherings. So just wanting to really raise my hands to all of you. And I guess we'll probably end this evening. I know we didn't have any intention to dragging out to a full hour, but we wanted to just thank you all for your time and want to respect your time as well. So I'll pass it back to you, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. So in closing, I would like to ask veteran and elder Barb Hume if she would close us in a prayer this evening.
Thank you, Katie. And I would like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to all of you from the territory of the Lekwungen speaking people, whom today we recognize as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. I would also like to recognize their close neighbors and my close neighbors, the WSÁNEĆ people as well, who join us on the peninsula. Creator, thank you for this opportunity to share through the written word the thoughts and stories of elders and friends of our Métis Nation of British Columbia community. Within these words are words of our ancestors. I ask that we respect them and see the wisdom within them. I humbly ask that we share these words with those within our circles of friends and family. The title of the book, and I'll say it in English, is We Take Care of Each Other. And as we connect with these in our circles, please consider the children, these with us now and those of future generations. Share the stories within this book and share other stories of our history with courage, truth, and honesty. Consider also the very important teaching of love for family, friends, community, and for all you interact with, be they human or some creature or something of the sea, the air, or the sky. Merci, miigwech, thank you.
Thank you so much, Barb, for those beautiful words and closing prayer. Merci to everybody for coming tonight. If you have any further questions, please feel free to send an email after this to health@mnbc.ca, and they'll be able to answer any questions you have about the book or the date or how you can get a hold of it, any of that type of thing. So thank you so much.